But it's been interesting. Obviously, just watching the landscape. Obviously, Riyadh season, His Excellency is now sort of inked this deal with Golden Boy as well. So it does look like His Excellency is slowly but surely taking over this sport of boxing. I almost want to fast forward to 2 years. You never want to kind of do that with time, but I want to fast forward and see where we are. Because I can kind of see His Excellency sort of just dominating, and he does to an extent now, but completely dominating the sport of boxing.
You know that statistically, food poisoning is the biggest excuse for people not going to work after there's been a football final because they drank so much they couldn't get up the next day. And I'm just teasing you.
No. I wish it was that, honestly.
But a lot of people called in with food poisoning that day.
I can imagine the phone calls were hotlining for it, but I was in an awful way. It was
terrible.
Awful. It was awful, honestly.
No, I
don't want to give you too many details, but it wasn't.
No, TMI. Don't give us TMI. It's funny, because I don't use the word. My semantics are slightly different with what's happening with the Saudi Arabians, His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh, and the Riyadh season. You said slowly taking over. I think what he's doing, he's gluing up the cracks.
Okay.
He's building concreting inside the crevices. I think he's bringing everyone together. I think there's more of a spirit of cooperation. We've seen it in the last year with the UK. I know we've got the big September event coming up, Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. I like the press release with Top Rank and Golden Boy, particularly with Golden Boy, because Oscar didn't seem to want to cooperate with the movement. And it is a movement. 12 Top Rank events, even if it's just in name, that Riyadh season is on those Top Rank events over the next year and a half. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And obviously we've got August the 10th. They're putting their name to Bogachev and Virgil Ortiz at a Golden Boy event, which I think is Serhii Bogachev, the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas event that's going on August the 10th. I think it's fantastic for the sport that, and I said it to him many times, I will say this, a briefing was off the record that we both went to with him back in London a few weeks ago. He's talking about governance so often. It strikes me as governance. And I love it because he doesn't stand, he's not trying to take over and tell people what they're going to do. He's asking the opinions of people, ourselves included, by the way. I want to make that clear. He wants people's opinions on what will work for boxing. So when people are out there on social media making comments that they're trying to take over, they're not trying to take over. They're trying to make the sport a better environment, a better landscape. So I thought that was fascinating, like you, when those two press releases came out yesterday. Really good news. And obviously, we're both off to LA next week, off to Beverly Hills to do the event. So it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, look forward to that one. Obviously, Terence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov, which I think is going to be a lot more closer and fun than people are maybe expecting, especially those American fight fans who maybe haven't given Madrimov the credit he deserves. Brad Pauls picking up the British middleweight title, stopping Nathan Heaney in that fight. I actually thought Brad was maybe unlucky when they fought first time round back in March. I thought he maybe could have nicked it then, but look, credit to Nathan Heaney, great guy, really good guy. Brad Pauls getting the job done, so it's now one apiece. I spoke to Brad yesterday, and I asked what next, and I expected him to be shouting from the rooftops for Hamza Shiraz or maybe a Tyler Denny rematch. It was like, you know what, maybe him and Nathan do a trilogy, which surprised me a little bit.
I wouldn't be averse to a trilogy, but it was a very close first fight. I had Nathan Heaney just nicking it. I mean, it was a difficult fight. I haven't watched it back, having said that. But at the time, I had him nicking it. But I thought Brad Pauls was magnificent. It's great for Cornwall that they've got a boxing champion, by the way.
You'd have to go back 60, 70 years to find another.
Yeah, you might have to go back to the old days of Cornish wrestling. I'm trying to think of Cornish champions. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'll try and think during the show and come up with one. But really pleased for him. Trilogy maybe. But, you've got the Tyler Denny, Hamza Shiraz axis, all that knocking about. So Good luck to Brad. Again, it's great to see British middleweights thriving at the moment. It's a great weight division because it's the first real division where you have super power in the punches
Yeah.
alongside the speed, the kind of the perfect size man to be an athlete is the middleweight, of course. So
Yeah.
it's brilliant to see. I love middleweight. You know, the great middleweights. Think about the great middleweights. You know,
Oh, mate, the Eubank Bens and the Michael
Sugar Ray
Watsons. Yeah.
Robinsons, the Marvin Haglers, there's so many great fighters at middleweight in history.
It's a fantastic division. It's not that great, I don't think, worldwide at the moment. When you think of sort of the middleweights in the world, like Alan Canali's considered number one, and he missed weight last time out, so he hasn't fought for quite a bit. Carlos Adames, obviously Charlo has been sort of stripped. So it's a weird division worldwide. So there is room now for maybe one of these British champions, maybe a Hamza Shiraz, to kind of go on and see if he can conquer the world, because it feels like it's an open division and it hasn't been that for ages. You look at Golovkin and Canelo kind of ruled it for ages.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not had a ruler, if you like, for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I put Golovkin in the greats, by the way. I mean,
100%.
Carlos Monzon as well.
Bernard
Bernard
Hopkins.
let's not forget him. What a great middle. Dick Tiger. But for me, Golovkin could have lived with any of them, and I'll tell you why. Because there's a great story, which I say I was researching. I think I wrote a story about it at the time, before he fought Canelo for either the first or second time. They were up in Big Bear with his trainer, Abel Sanchez, who I must look up because I haven't heard much from Abel for a while.
For years, honestly.
No, so he's on my mind. I'm going to send him a message today.
Is he still with Gassiev? I think the last person he was training was Murat Gassiev.
But one of the most fascinating trainers to sit down with, always got time for you, extraordinarily open man. It's like suddenly sitting down with your favourite uncle, who you can have a laugh and a joke with, but who's so knowledgeable and so wise on life. So I'm going to check up Abel a bit later. But I remember Abel telling me a story about when they were training up in Big Bear. And we know, of course, that Gennady Golovkin grew up. Two of his brothers, of course, Sergei, I can't remember the name of his other elder brother, but of course they died serving in the Russian army. And his brother Maxim, the four brothers on the streets of Karaganda when they were growing up, just broken up Soviet rule. And his brothers used to find men for him to fight on the streets. Do you know this story?
No, I do not. No.
They grew up in great poverty. His dad worked down the mines. His mother, because obviously he's Korean Kazakh, and his mother was an immigrant from Korea into Kyrgyzstan, into Kazakhstan. And there's something about these guys who are part Asian, part from that area in Russia, that kind of Russian Asian area, that strait, if you like. I think there's something in the DNA. Look at Dmitry Bivol.
I was just about to say that. Is Dmitry? I was just about to say, is
He's
Bivol
Kyrgyzstan and Korean.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I think there's something in the bone structure of those guys when those two.
Yeah, that's almost cheating. That's almost unfair. That shouldn't be allowed.
well, hey, how good is Delicious Ori going to be? Part Russian, part Nigerian. You know,
he's got everything. Good luck to him in the Olympics. Obviously,
what a deal! But what I was going to say about the aura. Well, it's maybe apocryphal, it maybe not, but it was in my essay that I was writing about him for this book, Call of the Warrior. That they were up in Big Bear training, and Abel was telling me this story about Gennady's running along, jogging up in Big Bear in the mountains, and a bear ran out. Yeah.
Okay.
And a bear ran out onto the road and fronted up with Golovkin, and Golovkin fronted up with it, and the bear ran off. You know.
Okay, I don't know.
The bear back down, baby, against Golovkin. No, we're talking about middleweights, obviously, just to bring it to the round. No, middleweight's he's always been an incredible division.
Yeah, I mean, that's the natural weight of most men walking planet Earth, isn't it? So that's the biggest pool, I'd say.
And look at the size of bloody Shiraz.
Yeah,
Hamza Shiraz is a middleweight.
That's not a middleweight. Yeah, that's a light heavy, if not cruiserweight soon. Quick word on Jake Paul. Talking about size of men, obviously Jake Paul weighing in 200 pounds plus against Mike Perry gets the job done again. And look, you've got to start to give him some sort of credit. He can box, Jake Paul, and he should be able to box. He's been doing this full time, if you like, for 7 years, and you can kind of see that now. And it gets to the point with Jake Paul though, and this is not me discrediting him. I almost want to see him fight someone like he did Tommy Fury, to be fair. His age, his size, his experience. I'd love that. Mike Perry, as for anyone that knows that MMA, is not a 200-pound guy. He's not that. And yes, he does bare knuckle, but he's not. He's a small guy in comparison to Jake Paul. So yes, Jake Paul, I'll give you your plaudits, but please, someone your own age and size would be nice. Not Mike Tyson either.
Yeah, well, let's leave Mike Tyson for a few months to pass. First of all, obviously it's scheduled for mid-November, with Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. Yeah, he did look 4 weight divisions above Mike Perry, didn't he? He looked about 25 pounds heavier. He's probably 220 when he was in there. He looked like a heavyweight. He's a big guy, isn't he? 6'2", Jake Paul. He's a big man. He's very thick set. I stayed up for it. I paid my pay-per-view on DAZN. I was a little bit disappointed with it, if I'm honest. Maybe should have seen it coming. It was utterly dominant. I mean, I was praying for Perry to do a bit more in the fight, but it just wasn't there. Marketing genius, huge cojones, Jake Paul. He's a big lad who's been athletic all his life. He's a very limited boxer, but he's a big, strong lad who loves it and he believes in it. So you've got to applaud his cojones. But he's a marketing genius as well. The way they marketed that fight all week was extraordinary. It made me want to watch it, as did many others. 17,000 in there. Looked like an amazing crowd and an atmosphere. Amanda Serrano was horribly mismatched as well, I thought.
I feel like Amanda Serrano has been horribly mismatched for a while now and has been getting away with it just because we love Amanda Serrano and we just want to see her, make the money she deserves at the tail end of her career. But you think of who she's been fighting since that Katie Taylor fight, and it's just not on, if I'm honest with you. It's not on.
She went up 2 weight divisions, but the girl wasn't in her class in the slightest. So that was disappointing. And really, the stoppage, I don't know if you've seen it back, but the stoppage came because the referee just needed to be merciful because she just couldn't do anything. She couldn't land a punch, and she would have been capable. Serrano was too violent, too vicious, too spiteful, and just too quick, too technically adept.
Why do you think Serrano, and I hate to be disrespectful to one of the greatest female fighters of all time, and she is that.
Yeah.
Why do you think he doesn't want to fight Sky Nicholson?
I think she does a number on Sky, by the way, first of all. Either Sky picks her off coming in, which is possible, but I just don't think Sky's got the hand speed of an Amanda Serrano. I think Amanda Serrano's got the footwork to get on the inside. I just think she's clever. Why doesn't she want to?
There's money in that fight, isn't there? I mean, Eddie would sell it. Sky would sell it. Jake Paul would obviously jump on as well. So it's an interesting one. Like, I get Katie there because Katie's the big money fight. I get that. But apart from Katie, surely it's Sky.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with you. And maybe it's a fight in Australia even that they could get on.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, it does make sense to me. But maybe it's just Amanda feeling that this girl's not worthy of her. She's only had 6 or 7 fights. I think we'd get a similar outcome. I think she'd get battered, Sky. I may be wrong on it, but I just think Serrano is very technically talented, great on the inside. Yes, you can hit her, but she also comes at you and she's got an amazing engine, an amazing array of shots.
So aggressive as well.
Yeah.
Very aggressive. I want to see Sky get hit, which sounds so bad. But, because Sky, no one's been able to really crack her. So I don't know.
She's just done 20 rounds and not taken a punch.
Yeah, so I want to see her take a punch to know if she can take it on the whiskers because we know Amanda can hit. But I'd be intrigued by that one. I'd certainly watch that fight. I'm surprised that Amanda has no interest in it. But Amanda at this stage of her career can pick what she wants to do.
Can I go back to your original point about Jake Paul? Well, I'd like to see. I liked him calling out Alex Pereira, by the way.
Didn't mind that.
But again, that's good marketing because Pereira isn't a boxer.
Yeah,
he was formerly a Muay Thai guy who came into MMA, and I think again it would whet the appetite. Right now, Jake Paul and Mike Tyson doesn't whet the appetite at all, if I'm honest.
Does Jake Paul, considering where Pereira is in his career now, he's probably the biggest name in the UFC right now. His stock's ridiculous. Does Jake Paul versus Pereira do 1 million pay-per-view buys?
Yeah, if they have a few brawls in the build-up,
Yeah,
and
quite a big fight then. It's quite a
it,
big
it
fight.
is quite a big. No, it whet my appetite. As someone that was obviously covers fight sports, and um, it intrigued me.
Yeah,
But he's talking about doing that after Mike Tyson, and Pereira's talked about coming and having a boxing match, and he's fascinated. And Anthony Joshua commented on it the other
saw
day.
that. Yeah,
But I don't want to see Pereira boxing at heavyweight in boxing, because he'll just get murdered in the ring.
no, yeah,
Not a great word to use, but
no, no, I
he'll
know what
get
you mean. He'll get
he'll get
absolutely
destroyed in my
battered
view.
by them.
Yeah.
I find Jake Paul so cheeky. So Jake Paul's next fight obviously is on Netflix, and he's interviewed Ariel Helwani in the DAZN ring. DAZN Mike is like, yeah, I can't wait to fight Mike Tyson on Netflix. I'm like, wow, look at you. You're on a DAZN platform, and you're already selling your next fight on Netflix. The cheek of you, man. He doesn't care. But he
No.
does good business. DAZN like doing business with him. Obviously, it works out well. I'm sure that a few 100,000 people bought the pay-per-view. So, yeah, it seems to work, the Jake Paul business.
Yeah, indeed, and like you say, he doesn't really care. He's a crossover guy, a crossover into any platform. Look at the way he came in with his chariot, dressed as a gladiator, and his. I'm
Was
not
he
even
in
sure
like
what his brand is, but he was selling that brand all week.
that spray, like aftershave
Oh
thing?
yeah,
Yeah, is it that? Yeah.
the deodorant spray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he can send some my way. He's making so much money. Send a few boxes my way. I'd use it.